So today we're going to move on and we're going to look on page 24 and 25 and look at using the polynomial to find x and y when you know the slope. Okay? So we know the gradient or slope, which we always call m, the letter m, all right? So you can call that gradient, you can call it slope, you can just call it m. I don't care. But you need to know that they all mean the same thing, right? Okay? So, here's what we need to do. You need to remember... Okay, so you need to remember that the gradient is the derivative, right, is found using the derivative. So, m is the same as dy dx, or f prime of x. Right? So I can replace those, either one of those, with m. Right? Because the gradient is equal. Because when I do those, like a while ago when we were looking at one of those, I started off with dy dx equals some function. And then I plugged in the x. And then after I plugged in the x, I called the dy dx what? M. So all of a sudden it turned into m, didn't it?
Well, is the derivative isn't the derivative of y like an x?
All right. Well, hold on a minute. Is the...
What was the title of this, finding?
Sorry about that. So what we did was found the derivative. Now that we have the derivative, I'm simply going to take the slope and put it in place of that f prime of x. Right? And then I just have a linear equation to solve. I'm going to solve it for what letter? What's the only letter that's left? Solve for the x. I'm going to subtract the 2 from both sides. I get 20 equals 10x. Then what? Divide both sides by 10. Excellent. Which gives me x equals 2. Right? So do you see what I mean? You just take the slope and put it in place of that notation of f prime of x. Now you do the same thing because if it was dy dx. Okay? Now that I know x, can I find my y? Yep. Okay? By using the original function. Don't use the derivative. Remember, derivative is slope. So we'll find f of 2 to get our y. So it's 5 times 2 squared plus 2 times 2. 2 squared is 4. 5 times 4 is what? 20, right? And positive 2 times positive 2 is positive 4. And 20 plus 4 is 24. So our slope was what? 22. And our point is the point, what's the x value? 2. What's the y value? 24. There you go. Sorry. There you go. So it's just a matter of what it is you're replacing. So if you're given an m, then you know that anytime you're given an m, that means you need the derivative, right? Yes.
So f of x is y, prime of x is m.
Exactly. You're exactly right. Right? Okay. Let's look at another one. Very, very easy. What do you want to see? Any of those even ones. Then I'm going to make you all do one.
Wait. Okay.
Can I go back?
No,
Sure.
this one that 7 was hard because
Can we
they
just
got
go
something
back
that
to
technically
English
shouldn't
now?
exist. So
4.
You mean the 2?
7?
No, 10. Look at 10.
7. This is freshman.
Oh, you're talking about the answer that you got.
well, no, because I'm at a point where I have to take the square root of a negative number.
6. Okay? So number 6, we have y equals 10x minus 7x squared, where the gradient is negative 4. So m is negative 4. So I know the slope, and they're asking me to find the point. So I need to find my x, and I need to find my y. Okay? Well, if I know the slope, the way to find slope for the function is to do the derivative. So it's dy dx equals 1 times 10 is 10, x to the 1 minus 1 is 10, x to the 0, so the x to the 0 goes away. 2 times negative 7 is negative 14. X to the 2 minus 1 is just plain old x. So there's our derivative. Well, this derivative notation is the same as saying m, right? And in this case, our m is what number? Minus 4. So we'll simply replace dy dx with minus 4. Now, I'm just going to solve to find my x. So we'll move our number away from our x. So we'll subtract 10 from both sides, which gives me negative 14 equals negative 14x. That's negative 14 times x. So the opposite of multiply by negative 14 is divide by negative 14. Be really careful about those signs. Everything will divide away over there, leaving you a 1. Over here, everything divides away and leaving you x. So that means my x value is 1. Okay? If I know x, how can I find y? Plug it into what? Your original function. So y equals 10 times 1 minus 7 times 1 squared, which is y equals 10 minus 7. So y equals 3. So the point is 1, 3. Keep looking at that fan thinking somebody's standing there. It's freaking